Welcome to our series of interviews with JAMS authors, where we give you a peek behind some of the scholarship published in the Journal of the American Musicological Society. I'm Esther Morgan Ellis. I'm the digital multimedia editor for the journal, and today I am speaking with Dr. Christopher White, who's an associate professor of music theory at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And he's going to be talking to us about his recent review, Music's AI Problem, AI's music problem.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
So can you give us, please, a brief summary of the topic of your review and the argument that you make?
The big thrust of the argument is that music has a unique relationship to AI and can tell us a lot about this emerging technology. I talk about how music is particularly hard for contemporary AI, contemporary large language models. That it like because these large language models tend to be like people talk about them as autocorrect or autofill on steroids. Like they're basically predicting what's happening next. And the thing is, so many things can happen next in music that it's hard for these models to make those kinds of predictions. Not just because music does a bunch of different things, but also because it sounds a lot of different ways. That if you look at overtones, they're extremely complex, and a lot of variation between even two different violins would have different kinds of overtones. Scores are really hard to read. Like if you compare a score to a page of written text, like scores are way more complicated than written text. And then I also talk about how musical data sets are just smaller than other kinds of data sets out there. There are fewer people making music than there are people talking, and there are people writing. And so there's just less data to work with. Then I also do this like thing that then I flip that and say, well, music's actually easier for large language models in some ways, because all it has to do is make something that sounds good. Because music, like there's no right or wrong in music. Unlike when a lawyer like uses ChatGPT to file a law brief and it cites a case that doesn't exist, like there's a right or wrong answer there. There isn't really a right or wrong answer in music. So large language models can make it's easier for it to make like fine music, like music that basically passes, because there's no right or wrong. But then I do this double flip and say, but music is a very social and embodied and human thing. And so it even if it makes stuff that sounds good, what it's never going to be able to do is make something that comes from a person. And so there's that like last move that AI can't ever make, just simply by the fact that it's a computer.
What most fascinates you about your article's topic and your general area of research?
I think that the fact that music is such a stark case in the AI landscape is what makes this so interesting to me. Other media have aspects of them that sort of follow the same dynamics of music, like abstract painting doesn't have a right or wrong. Like if it makes a dog that doesn't quite look like a dog, that's fine, right? And so like there are aspects of other media that have these same kinds of dynamics going on, but it's like in music, it's all the time. It's very stark. Music is always made by a person. Music is never very infrequently communicates verifiable, falsifiable information. So like when you look at musical AI, it's showing you really starkly the boundaries of what AI can do and what it can't do.
So can you tell us a little bit about how your work extends existing knowledge in musicology, or adds to other discussions about music?
Sure. I mean, in a way, this, because it's a review, we're not really up to like trailblazing new ideas, and people have been talking about music and AI in a way for like centuries. And I think what my tech what I wanted to do here was take to give a table setting for this new blossoming interest in AI, the new central role that it has in our daily lives and in society. Um, and so, in that way, it's more of a synthetic project that it looks at a bunch of the things that are going on and have been going on, and is like, here it is in one place. I was really struck this year at AMS SMT how many papers by junior scholars are on AI, and so I hope that this kind of work supports that new this new interest, this new like subfield of inquiry in musicology. I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting questions that are going to be asked in the next year, 5 years, 10 years about this, and I'm hoping that that I can contribute sort of a baseline to that, to give like a kind of floor to grow from.
So, a last question. What would you like a student or somebody new to music studies to take away from your article?
I would hope that people will take away two things. One is that I think musicology and like humanistic musical inquiry in general has a lot to say about musical AI and like AI in general. There's most of the media attention, most of investment dollars go to the actual engineering behind these things and making sure that these models make products that people want to buy. But I think that equally important, if not more important, is to ask why we're doing this, the history behind it, how they work and how they work with people and how they work with our expectations about music, about how music works, how we hear music, what the definition of music is to us and how it changes with musical AI. Like these are all questions that a musicologist and a music theorist and a music researcher can ask. And so I would hope that somebody would read this and be like, ah, yes, there is a lot of value in a musicologist looking at and studying AI. On the other hand, secondly, I would hope that it has a very like realistic take on what's going on right now. That there's folks tend to either like buy into the hype or totally dismiss the what's going on in artificial intelligence right now, and be like, nope, I'm not going to use it at all. Or be like, okay, well, our machine gods are going to take over, and I'm going to totally embrace this technology. And I'm hoping that, and I think that there's a more productive space in between those with some more critical engagement, some more skeptical engagement, but without like 100% dismissal. Yeah. So a realistic middle ground, I think, is another thing that I would hope that people would take from this article.
Thank you very much for speaking with us today, Dr. White.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.